So, can you tell us a little bit about your service years, the time that you were in the Army?
In the Army, when I was in the Army,
Where were you stationed?
I was
You
stationed
mentioned
at Camp
Austria.
Roberts, California. I did my basic. I went in the Army at Fort Douglas, Utah. I was transferred to Fort Ord, California. And then from Fort Ord, California, I spent there a week or two at Fort Ord. Then they sent me to Camp Roberts. And I spent about 18 weeks there at Camp Roberts. And like I said, I worked at the supply room most of the time. And then our company, there was 120 went to Korea, 55 to Germany, 10 to Alaska, and 10 of us went to Austria. And I was the one in Austria. When I got to Austria, I've been there about a month, and the opening come up for ski school up in Saltfield, Austria. So I went up to ski school for 8 weeks in Saltfield, learned how to ski. And that was ski school was when Sherry was born. Then after come back from ski school, they decided they wanted to send Robert. I don't know, Robert. It was Don Carlson and I to NCO Academy in Saltfield in Austria. Went to 18 weeks at NCO, 8 weeks at NCO Academy in Linz, Austria. And I come out 13th in the class of 250, and he was 14th. And then we come back, then they made a squad leader, and I was squad leader. The rest of the time I was in the Army we came back to Salzburg, and then in May of 54, they moved us from Salzburg to Linz, Austria, and spent the rest of the time there in Linz, Austria. It was an old German airfield, what it was. We lived in and they had old German concerns that we lived in. There was 4 men to a room. All the squad leaders lived in one room, and then
so these German airfields were left over from World War II?
World War II, yeah.
Okay, now I just want to clarify something. You said Fort Douglas, Utah. Did you mean Fort Douglas, Arizona?
Fort Douglas, Utah.
Okay, all right.
I went to Fort Douglas, Utah, there in Salt Lake.
Okay, all right. So where was your family living all this time that you were over there?
Well, Edith was living with my parents in Bisbee until Sherry was born in December. Then she stayed with my parents until May of 54. Then she decided she wanted to go back to Idaho and live with her parents. So Grandma used to come and got her, and then went back to Idaho and lived in Idaho until I came home in February of 55.
All right. Can you tell us a little bit about your parents? Because you are the last living child, and we probably need to get to know them a little bit better and know some things about them.
My dad was born in 1895 down in Lehigh, Arizona. And then when he was 3 years old, Grandpa Ray and Grandma Ray took him to Jerome. Grandpa Ray was had the job of watering the streets down in Mesa. They were all dirt roads then, back in the 1890s.
And that's Seminola, right?
Seminola. And then he went to Jerome in 1898. My dad was 3 years old, and my dad stayed in Jerome until 1953 when they closed the mines down. Then he went to Bisbee, and he and my mother got married in 1917. She was 16 years old. She came to Jerome in 1911, and her mother had died, and her uncle lived there in Jerome, and his wife had died, and she come to help take care of his kids. And that's Aunt Pearl and Aunt Grace knew Mom. They lived there in the Gulch, and so that's where my dad got to know her. And my dad was 22 and she was 16 when they got married in August of 1917. And my brother was born the 28th of May of 1918. And then Before that, my dad had been drafted in the Army in World War One, and my mom was going back to Texas to stay with her relatives while he was at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and he was born in Prescott. She got as far as Prescott from him. He was born in Prescott. Then she went on to Texas, and then she spent time at Fort Sill with him until he went overseas. He was in France in 1918. He was in France when the First World War ended, and then they came home, and Uncle Clarence, my dad's brother, was out in Coalinga, California. He got him to come out there. Well, in the meantime, before my dad got married, he went to work for the mines there in Jerome because his dad had passed away in 13. He had to go to work to support his mother and his two sisters. So he started out as a teamster there in Jerome. And then when he got out of the Army, Uncle Clarence and Uncle Wilbur both out in California in the oil fields out Coalinga. So they got him to come out there, and they spent about a year out there. Then they came back to Jerome, and he went back to work in the mines. And they worked in the powerhouse there in Jerome, where they made all the compression air for the mines and the power for the town of Jerome for 32 years. And then in 1953, when they shut the mine in Jerome, they transferred into Bisbee.
Okay, so that's what he did for work, but what kind of father was he?
He was good. He and I used to go fishing and hunting together and do stuff like that. We always went and got the cows at night. He and I'd go get the cows at night. And when he wasn't working, he worked 3 shifts. He worked morning, night, afternoon, and graveyard. And when he was able, he and I'd go get the cows at night and stuff like that. And I'd always put him out in the morning before I'd go to school.
Did you ever see your father angry?
Pardon?
Did you ever see your father get mad?
No, he got mad at me a few times. Last time I got a spanking, I remember I was 11 years old, and mother would do the washing on the back porch. She had the wringer washer, and then she'd have a tub here where she'd run through the wringer, and then she'd put them out, and then she had a bluing tub here that she'd run through the last. And then after we get through with the washing, we'd take the water out and put it on the plants out in the yard. Well, myself and my nephew Dan and Ernest Lee were helping me take the water out to put on the plants, and I was throwing water on them. So Dad got a cotton rope, and he chased me under my bed and gave me a spanking the last time he ever spanked me.
Okay, let's talk about the teachings that your father gave to you.
What?
Teachings, the things of value that he taught you.
Yep.
Did he do it by talking to you or through example?
He told me, one thing he always told me, he says, if you tell somebody that you'll do something no matter what it costs you, your word is the most important thing that you can do. Because no matter what it costs you, if you told somebody you'll do it, you do it.
Did you guys go to church very often?
We went to every Sunday. We used to have Sunday school in the morning and second meeting in the afternoon. And then they had primary during the week.
Okay,
and mutual during the week.
Did your father baptize you?
Yes, he did.
Did he confer the priesthood on you?
No, Bert Hanks ordained me a priesthood, but the situation there was Bert Hanks' son and I were very good friends. And Bert was a missionary there in Jerome in 1925. Folks got to know him, and then he came back and married Mabel. I can't think of what her maiden name was, but over in Prescott. And then they moved over. He worked for Thrifty Wholesale, and they moved over to Clarkdale in 1940, 43 or 44. He worked for Thrifty Wholesale, so they and then their son and I, Bert Allen Jr., were very good friends. He's about 4 months younger than I was. And in 1945, no, it was 44. 1944, they took him to the hospital to take his tonsils out. There in Jerome, well, he died. They took his tonsils out during the operation. He died. And so my dad let Bird ordain me to the office of the priesthood. I had her up through an elder.
That was very generous of your father.
Yeah, he let Bird ordain me to the priesthood for every office that I had up until I was an elder.
That is really neat.
And then when I was now ordained to 70, I was ordained by John Eager. He was the stake president of the Camp Verde stake. And then Laverne Finch ordained me a high priest over here in St. John's in 1982.
What callings have you had in the church?
No, I've been in Sunday school superintendency. I've been in the elders quorum presidency. I've been in the high priest group. I've been a high priest group leader. I've been in the young men's presidency. I've been Explorer Scout leader. I've been in the Sunday school. I've been a Sunday school teacher.
So what do you think was your most enjoyable job that you had?
Anything to do with the gospel is the most enjoyable thing you do. Any calling you have should be the most enjoyable thing you have.
Okay, so you talked about serving in the Korean War. Were you able to serve a mission?
Pardon?
Were you able to serve a mission?
No, not until after Edith and I were older. I wasn't able to, they wouldn't let you go on a mission then because of the Korean War. They'd let one missionary go from each ward is all they would allow.
Okay, so talk about your mission. You said you went later on a mission with
2001. Before we ever left, I got a call from the mission president, and he found out I'd been service manager, so he wanted me to be the car czar over the mission cars. So I was in charge of all the mission cars. They had 59 cars that they had signed off to elder companions. I was in charge of make sure that they kept their mileage down, make sure they did the maintenance and took care of everything. And I had to get reports I had to have a report from them by the 5th of the month because I had to send a report into Salt Lake by the 5th of each month on every car that was in the mission. So.
Okay, so you didn't indicate where your mission was.
It was in Indianapolis, Indiana.
And what years did you serve there? 2001
and 2003. Okay, 4th of September 2001 to the, I think it's about the 15th of March of 2003.
Okay, and your companion the whole time
was my wife, Edith.
Okay, so what did you learn from your mission?
You learned to live the gospel and to do what you're supposed to be doing and try to do everything right.
Did you enjoy your mission?
Yes.
You must have had a really good companion.
No, we did all right. We did all right.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about different areas of your life, your work area and all that. Let's go back to Bisbee, because you were there for quite a few years.
There from 56 to 63.
Okay, so what was your experiences in Bisbee? What were the things that you did for work, for fun?
Well, I worked there in the open pit. I started out on the track gang out on the dump. And then I went to Pittman. And from Pittman, I went to, I worked in the service station. There where they serviced all the trucks. And Cape Pincock got me as a sampler. They were doing some exploring to expand the pit, so I was a sampler on the drill rig that would they would I'd take the samples and pan them out like gold, and then take the samples, send back so they could find out where there was ore, where they were doing the drilling at. And then I quit that. That's when I went to work for Shamrock Dairy when Marie was born.
So
and then after she was born in August, I got tired of that milk route and I went back to work for the pit. And I was driving truck, and then they went on strike in 1959, and they stayed on strike until the last of February of '60. The end of January, I had a chance to take over the standard station there on the traffic circle in Lowell there in Bisbee, and I borrowed $700 from my dad and went into the service station business.
Cool. So
I stayed in for 19 years.
So we could honestly say that Larie's father was the milkman.
Pardon?
Larie's father was the milkman.
Yeah, I was a milkman. I was a milkman when she was born.
Okay. Dad, let's go back to your years at BYU. What kind of classes did you take? What kind of social events did you do? Who was the girl that you dated the most?
Well, I took the required classes when I was a freshman. And
did you think they were harder than the classes in high school?
Not really. Just had to study. High school, I didn't do hardly much studying in high school. I just did what I had to do, you know. Mm-hmm. But
did you do much dating before you met Mom?
Yes, I used to go with this girl. Her name was Laura Lee Marshall. We went together for about 3 or 4 months. And then all of a sudden she decided she wanted to break it off, so that was it. She was from Ogden.
Okay, who is the person that has influenced your life the most?
Berta Hanks.
Why?
Because he was an example. When I was a teenager, I used to go with him. He used to be a salesman for Thrifty Wholesale. And he used to go around to these different grocery stores and take orders, you know, for the wholesale. And I used to drive for him. And say we used to go to King, Munda, Searchlight, all over the northern Arizona. I used to go with him because he had diabetes, and I had to go and drive for him.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You talked earlier about kids being on technology, not socializing. But what new technology have you found to be helpful for you?
Just a computer.
Just a computer. What do you do on the computer?
The news. I check the weather. I check my email. I check the Facebook, and that's about it.
Okay. So you're connected with your kids through Facebook also?
Yeah.
Is there anything that you regret not having asked your parents?
No, not really.
You feel like you know everything?
Yeah, I think I know pretty everything about it.
Okay, what was the happiest moment of your life?
I don't know. A lot of happy moments.
Well, name some of them.
Well, each one of my kids was born and all that. We got to serve our mission and stuff like that.
Okay, I just want you to clarify for me that you and Mom both went through the temple to receive your endowments before you were married.
Yes, the 27th of September, 1952.
Okay, so I'm not talking about days before like they do now, but you went months before.
Yes.
So how was that possible back in those days?
I don't know if they'd let you.
Okay, so you didn't have to be ready to get married or go on a mission.
No.
That if you were worthy, you were endowed.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you think are the most important lessons you've learned in life?
To live the gospel. All the commandments.
Okay. I have to ask you about, you still have a head of hair on your head, okay?
I have some. I got a bald spot in the back.
No, it's not in the front. Have you always worn your hair like this?
Yep. When I was a teenager, I started wearing my hair like this.
Never changed it.
Never changed it.
Okay. So what were the popular clothing when you were in high school?
Levi's and t-shirts.
Okay.
Used to roll the bottom of our Levi's up.
That was cool? That was cool to do, huh?
Yep.
Okay.
Used to put on a pair of Levi's, and brand new pair of Levi's. You never wash them until they could probably stand up by themselves. You didn't wash them until you absolutely had to.
Okay, let's just ask, I've got another question about your military. How did your experience in the military mold you as a person?
Taught me discipline.
In what ways?
Well, that you need to be able to follow the rules and do what's right, and not just go off and do anything you want to do.
So what world events have had the most impact on you?
What?
What world event has had the most impact on you?
No. I think World War II.
Why is that?
Well, because all the patriotism, all this stuff. I was in the. I was in 41. I was 8 years old when it started, and I went all through the Second World War.
Okay, the Great Depression happened in 1929.
Pardon?
The Great Depression happened in
1929. Yes.
How did that affect your life?
Well, I don't know. I was born in 33, and I really didn't realize it. I was only 7 or 8 years old during that depression, so I really didn't realize that. My dad worked all during the depression. He had a job all during the depression. So.
Okay, so we've talked about your dad, what kind of father he was. Let's talk a little bit about your mom.
She was very good, very concerning, very concerned about what was going on, and want to make sure you were doing everything the way you're supposed to be doing it. She was a very concerning person. She had a very good memory, which I have inherited from her. Zelda and I both had very good memories. So.
Did she ever spank you?
Yes. Did I ever spank you?
Just wondered if your mama ever spanked you.
One time she got mad at me, and so I ran and jumped on the bed, and she had a Vicks bottle in her hand, and she threw it at me.
Yeah. Okay. is there anything else that you would like to share with us about your life? You have 5 children.
I had 5 children, huh?
Yeah.
Sherry's the oldest. She was 14 months old before I ever saw her. And she didn't like her dad. She didn't like her dad to be around her mom at all. She didn't like that strange man to be around her mom at all. So no, leave it alone. It'll pay. It won't go on by it. So if it stays on, it won't go off. The then there's Peggy. I remember when she had the accident with the old Plymouth, hit her head on the steering wheel, and after that she had epilepsy. I remember that. And I remember Larry, and she was one that never wanted to hurt her mom or dad. She wasn't doing anything that would hurt her mom and dad. She was that kind of a child. And then Bruce, he worked for me at the service station for many years, and was a good worker and a good son, and I appreciate all that he does for me today. He does a lot. And then there's Brett, who's the smallest, who's the youngest in Hawaii, and he's been in the military almost 33 years, and he's a good son, and I appreciate him and everything he's done for me and all that he's done in the past. And I love all my kids, so I appreciate him very much.
Okay, Dad, for the final bit for your children, can you please share memories of Mom?
Well, it's hard for me to talk about it. I loved your mother very much. She was a good woman. She always tried to do right by you kids and to teach your kids what the things to do and what was right and what was wrong. And her and I had a lot of good memories together. We went to Spain, we went to Mexico, went to Germany, I went to England, went to Canada, lots of places together, and had a lot of good times. A lot of times she was always willing to go somewhere and do things. She always wanted to do things, and she was a good companion, and I miss her, and I'm really thankful for her and all that she did for me and for you kids.
Now, you guys did a lot together when when we were growing up. For instance, the bowling leagues.
Yeah, we used to bowl, and we started bowling in Bisbee. And then we, in Scottsdale, we belonged to the bowling league. We bowled down there. Bowled with Sherry and Kenny. Sherry and Steve, rather. Sherry and Steve bowled with us down there in Scottsdale. And
who was the better bowler, you or Mom?
Mom was a better bowler than me. She was always a better bowler than me.
All right, Dad. Really appreciate you taking the time to share your memories with us, your posterity. We don't anticipate you leaving us anytime soon, but it's always good for us to have these when you're finally receive your final transfer papers.
Well, I want you to know I don't feel too good right now. I'm got pain in my shoulders and my back and I feel lightheaded a lot of the times. I think it's from all that medication I'm taking because I go to the doctors and they can't give me any answers of why upon this way, other than the medication. So, but
That's old age, huh?
it's old age. Me as old as I am, that's what happens.
And hopefully we'll all be there someday.
Yep.
Okay, Dad, one final question. How do you want to be remembered by your posterity?
Want to remember that I love all of you and appreciate you. And Rod, I'm pleased that the way you kids are living your lives. I want you to know that. That's the greatest blessing that a parent can have is children that are living the gospel and doing what's right and keeping the commandments of the Lord. And I want you to always remember that.
Thank you, Dad. We love you too.